A few years ago, I took an acting class at Mount Hood Community College. It's just down the street from here. It didn't work out for me for a number of reasons, mostly about confidence on a couple of levels, but it got me to thinking about what acting actually is. It was also one of the questions in the class, of course. We are all actors of a sort. We kind of filter what we present to the world through our individual experiences, good and bad. Our joys and our traumas along the way in life set up kind of a framework that we unconsciously use to develop a character that we can play to communicate and interact with the world around us. But is that really who we are? Or is it merely what we think we have permission to act like? And permission is the right word here. For example, when you're a toddler, you hear adults use certain words and you'll say those words and then learn that you don't have permission to say them, like cuss words. For example, there are consequences for using certain words under certain circumstances, like among a specific group, using the word bitch might be in common use when referring to girls or women, and that's not a big problem. We'll take that word out of that context, go home and call your mom a bitch and see what happens. But before you do that, give me a second to grab a Pepsi and make some popcorn. This is going to be good. I'm sure you've heard people say something like, I'm so glad people can't hear what I think. I wouldn't have any friends. I've said it many times myself. It's a cute little joke with a timer on it. It's kind of funny at first blush, and when you stop laughing, it kind of hangs there for a minute and makes you think. I have filters on what I say and do, and the result of that filtering that I do becomes who you decide that I am and how I decide who you are. It's what we present, the character we develop to navigate life with. There are a lot of things that influence our filters as we develop these characters. What we're taught in school, our faith, our religion, reactions that we get from those around us, especially when we express something that's important to us that might not fit the dynamic of whatever other group we find ourselves in. I'm sure you felt embarrassed over something that you said or did. I know I have. It happens to everyone at some point or another. And that's an example of what I'm talking about. The character that you created did or said something that you're not permitted to say from your position in the dynamic. In a family, everyone has their place, their thing, their skill or aptitude that they contribute. One parent provides, another nurtures, while siblings place one another in a pecking order that isn't always based on seniority or even chronology. It's mostly a natural settling in the growth process based on what each person is good or bad at. These are positions in a family dynamic. In order to keep peace and continuity in the group dynamic, everyone has to accept their place in that matrix. And from whatever position that is, there's going to be some things that you can and cannot say or do. If you mess with that balance, discord will erupt. By the time you're in your early teens, you already know very well what those things are, and what that balance is. Sometimes the disturbance is a good thing, sometimes not so much. Every gay person within the sound of my voice knows this very well. That's why it's such a mountain to climb to get ourselves to the point where we can come out to the people that we love, our microcosm. We know for sure that coming out will cause a disturbance, and whether that disturbance is a good thing or a bad thing depends on where the others in the family dynamic are from their position, what their character is allowed to present. People of color know this too. They even have a term for it. They call it code switching. These filters are the building blocks we use to be able to create this character that gives us the ability to function in the here and now, in whatever environment that may be. Outside the family environment, we have to develop another character, like in a work environment, for example, or among peers at school or friends outside of school. We often have to create a different character for each of those environments that can keep the peace while trying to be yourself at the same time. A lot of the time I forget that the people around me have created characters that allow them to function in the world just like I have. the character that they use to navigate through the influence of their families, schools, spiritual tradition, or friends are likely based on their own joys and traumas, just like mine. For example, I grew up in a world where it was made clear to me right from the start that there was something wrong with me because I was gay, and that message was pounded into me continuously until I was well into my late 20s. I go into that a lot in my book Searching for St Germaine by GL Franklyn, available to order wherever books are sold. That book, incidentally, is on the list of the best books you haven't read yet. What I did with that message was to assume that the people around me in whatever group dynamic I was in were normal and I wasn't. It was as if I was a set aside because there was something wrong with me, but I wasn't seeing other people being set aside because there was something wrong with them. So I had this underlying story going on that something is wrong with me and that everybody else is fine. Basically, what I'm talking about is the equation: you're okay, I'm not okay. Of course, I've grown and developed a bit since I was a high school kid, but I still feel shades of that indoctrination because it all happened when I was being formed and developed as a human being. It's part of who I am. There's nothing wrong with me because I'm gay, and there never was, but by the time I realized that, the damage had already been done. One thing I lose track of quite a bit, and this is not a good thing, is that many of the people around me are as messed up as I am because of the messages that I grew up with. I tend to assume that they're not. I put people I like and admire on pedestals, and what I don't often focus on is what position that assigns to me. With that attitude, I'm saying that you are better than me or have my more priority. And that's not fair for me because low self-esteem is as toxic as self-absorbed arrogance. It's not good for them because they have to live up to a character that I assigned to them that they had no part in creating or even agreeing to. That's not fair for them or for me. I'm still working on the character that I use to navigate life with. I'm retired now and have been freed from the code switching that I've placed on my character to accommodate my activism, my community, and particularly for the jobs that I've had. A lot of those jobs were in social service, and there's a whole dictionary of things that you can't say or do in those environments. When you operate among those barriers every day for 30 or 40 years, a lot of them become almost second nature. And I'm working on my character. I'm developing it. My intent is to pound that character into the shape of my heart, the real one. And with that, I'm GL Franklyn for the view from out here. Much love.